everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video I'm going to talk about fast-paced books. So these are books that can help you get into reading or maybe get out of a reading slump. These are books from different genres. I'm going to talk about some mystery thrillers, I'm going to talk about romance, going to talk about some fiction, and then about some dystopian books. So let's get right into the video. So to start off, I'm going to talk about some romance books that are very fast-paced and are very easy to get into. First up, we have Maybe in Another Life by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This book follows Hannah, who is in her late 20s, and she is just kind of having a rough time. She has moved from city to city throughout all of her 20s and has had a lot of different jobs that none of them have really worked out. And so she decides to return to her hometown of Los Angeles to stay with her best friend. And then shortly after she returns home, she goes out to a bar and she runs into her ex-boyfriend from high school named Ethan. So Ethan has always been kind of on her mind, in the back of her mind. She really just loved their relationship and she misses him. And he asks her to actually leave the bar. So she has to make the decision to either kind of leave with Ethan or to just go home with her best friend who she came with. And so the book follows both timelines if Hannah were to leave with Ethan or leave with a friend, and then it follows how her life would pan out. I really liked this book. I didn't really know what to expect with just the two separate timelines. I thought it was so interesting, and I love Taylor Jenkins Reid. I think she is a great writer. And so I really recommend this book because it is so fast-paced and so easy to get into because it goes back and forth between both, like, timelines, if you want to call it that. And so I really recommend this because I loved it. The next book is Forever Interrupted, also by Taylor Jenkins Reid. You will definitely be seeing a lot of her in this video because she is definitely one of my all-time favorite authors. So Forever Interrupted follows Elsie, who on New Year's Day meets Ben, and they have an immediate connection, and they start dating, and their relationship moves very fast, and within weeks they're in love, and within a few months they've decided to elope. And then 9 days after they've eloped, Ben goes out on his bike to the store and gets hit by a truck and is killed. So the story follows not only Elsie and Ben's relationship throughout those short months, but then it also follows Elsie's grieving time and recovery time from this tragic loss. And Elsie ends up meeting Ben's mother, Susan, who Elsie had never met before Ben had passed. And so it follows Elsie and then Susan, their relationship, and how they kind of help each other through the grieving process. This book is it's a sad book, I will admit that, but the writing is amazing, and I actually think this is Taylor Jenkins Reid's first book, which I cannot believe because I think this is one of her best by far. Yeah, so like I said, it's definitely a sad story, but I read it very quick. I think I read this in 2 days. So I really recommend checking this out. Obviously, if the story seems too sad, then don't read it, but if you think that you kind of want to hear about their story, then I recommend it. My next book is, you guessed it, also by Taylor Jenkins Reid. It is called One True Loves, and this follows Emma, who married her high school boyfriend Jesse, and on their 1-year anniversary, Jesse goes out on an assignment because he is a big photographer and a nature photographer. He goes on a helicopter to go take some pictures, and then the helicopter disappears. He is never found, so he is presumed dead. So obviously Emma is crushed. She ends up moving back home with her parents to kind of restart her life. And then a little while later, she runs into Sam, who was her very best friend in high school, but they lost touch after that. And they kind of have a connection, and so after some time, Emma agrees to go on a date with Sam, and then a little while later, they are engaged. And around the time of their engagement, Emma receives a call that her husband, Jesse, is alive. They found him alive, and he is coming home to her. And obviously, he does not know that Emma has found someone else because, he had no idea. He was just kind of lost. And so it follows Emma as Jesse returns home and it follows her decision-making process about what should she do. Should she go back to her husband Jesse? What's going to happen with her fiance Sam? And so I loved this book. I really did not know what to expect. I had no idea how it was going to end, to be honest. And it was very, very fast-paced because you obviously want to find out Emma's decision. And so I really recommend this book. My next book is actually not by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I know, it's kind of surprising. The next one is called The Cheat Sheet, and this follows Bree and Nathan, who are best friends, and it follows both of their points of views throughout the book, and they both have feelings for each other, but neither of them know that the other one likes them. So Bree is a ballet teacher and has her own studio, and Nathan is a pro football player and he is a quarterback. And so it follows their relationship as they're kind of in this awkward stage where they both like each other, but neither of them is going to admit it. And then one night, Bree actually says that she has feelings when she is drunk, and she says it to a reporter. And because Nathan is famous, the reporter puts it out online, and then there's this crazy thing going around that Bree and Nathan are actually together. And in order to kind of promote Nathan's, I guess, image or just public identity, then they decide to fake date. And that is kind of Nathan's master plan because he wants to just convince Bree that they should be together because, like I said before, he doesn't think that she likes him. And so they begin to fake date, and then they get closer and closer to each other, and finally they kind of admit their true feelings. This is by far one of the cheesiest books I've ever read, but it is also one of my favorite books I have ever read. I really recommend this if you just need a very, very fast-paced book. I would say out of all the books I have here, this is probably the one that I read the fastest. I think I read this in like one sitting because, I mean, it's only like 300 pages, so you can fly through this, trust me. So if you like the cheesy romance books, like a romantic comedy book, I really recommend this one. The next book I'm going to talk about actually has something to do with the shirt I'm wearing, which says Cousins Beach. It is The Summer I Turned Pretty. This is actually a trilogy, and it follows Belly, who is childhood friends with Conrad and Jeremiah because their mothers are friends. Every summer they spend the summer together at this amazing beach house, and Belly is kind of caught up in a love triangle between Conrad and then Conrad's brother Jeremiah. And so it follows the three of them over 3 books and how there's tension always within those relationships. And I don't want to give too much away, and I'm sure that a lot of you have probably heard a lot about this because it is also a TV show on Amazon Prime, which I recommend so much. There's already 2 seasons out, and then the 3rd season will hopefully come out maybe this upcoming summer. But I love these books so much. I first read these, I believe, in the summer of 2021, and then I reread them the summer of 2022, and that's when the first season of the TV show came out. And then I reread the books again this past summer because that's when season 2 came out. I love these books so much. They are probably my favorite books of all time, and I love the TV show. I love just everything about it. And so if you take away any books from this video, it should be this one. It should be the Summer I Turned Pretty trilogy. My next book is called Better Than the Movies. This follows 2 high schoolers. The first one is Liz, who ends up fake dating her neighbor Wes, and they start fake dating because Liz has a crush on this guy named Michael, and she really wants to get his attention, and so she decides to fake date her neighbor, who she doesn't really get along with. Like, they don't really like each other. They're not really mean to each other. They're not friends. But Liz and Wes start fake dating, and they spend a lot more time together, and you know how the rest goes. It's a very, very classic fake dating book. And I love this book so much, and I really love Lynn Painter, and I want to read more of her books because also, if you like Taylor Swift, there is a lot of Taylor Swift references in here, which I loved so much. And yeah, it's such a cheesy book, but I really love the cover of this because it just looks like a rom-com movie, and I love it. This is also just I really recommend that you guys read this one because I cannot get enough of it. So I have 3 fiction books that I want to talk about, and I'm just going to say it right now. They are all Taylor Jenkins Reid books because she's really the only author that I've read that has like fiction books, and there's definitely a little bit of romance in it too, but I mean, if you go to a bookstore, these would be in the fiction section. First up, we have The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I'm guessing that most of you have probably heard of this book because it is very, very popular. I mean, right on the cover it says over 2 million copies sold. So I think this is probably Taylor Jenkins Reid, like her most famous book. So it follows Evelyn Hugo, who is this famous actress and movie star, and it is set in like the 50s to the 1980s time. That's when she's really, really famous. But then you fast forward to present day, and Evelyn Hugo, who normally never gives any interviews, doesn't talk to the press, has not shared her story, especially has never talked about how she was married 7 times. She phones up Monique Grant, who is this kind of low-level writer, to essentially write an entire story about Evelyn Hugo's life. So it just follows Evelyn Hugo's entire career and personal or love life as it kind of goes husband by husband, and I loved this book so much. I did not know what to expect, and I didn't know if I would really like it, but it was amazing, and I especially love that it's set in like the 50s, 60s, 70s because, I don't know, it sounds so cool to read about that time, and I loved it so much, and I really recommend this book because you will not expect what happens in the book. It is very surprising. It's just such a surprising story. There are so many cool moments, and I love this book. I wish I could read it again for the first time because it was amazing. My next book, also by Taylor Jenkins Reid, is called Malibu Rising. This is definitely another one of her popular books. This follows Nina Riva and the whole Riva family. They are all famous. Nina specifically is a surfer and a supermodel, and every year she has a huge, huge party at her Malibu beach house, and this follows the party of 1983, and so it just follows the one night essentially. It does give some history about the Riva family beforehand, but it really focuses on that one night in 1983 where all of these celebrities go to this beach house party, and it shows how crazy the party gets. And that's all I'm going to say about it because I don't want to spoil anything. And I mean, I guess it does say on the back that by midnight the party will be completely out of control, and by morning the Riva mansion will have gone up in flames. So you really need to read this book. It is so amazing, and I loved it so much. My last fiction book and my last Taylor Jenkins Reid book that I'm going to talk about is Carrie Soto is Back. I believe this is her most recent book, and I think this is my favorite book of hers. So this follows Carrie Soto, who is this amazing tennis player and who has dominated, and it says that she has broken every record and has claimed 20 Grand Slam titles. And she is a very, very cocky and confident athlete, and then she retires because she has just got to a certain age where she no longer plays tennis. But 6 years after she retires, Carrie watches her record of having those 20 Grand Slam titles be taken by this young player named Nikki. And so when Carrie is 37 years old, she decides to come out of retirement to go take back her record. And it follows just, it doesn't really follow her career before she retires. It just follows her decision to come out of retirement and then all the training she goes through, and then when she is actually playing after retirement. I really loved this book. I think I mentioned before that I love playing sports. I love just working out, running, all athletic type things. And I never played tennis before reading this book, but then after I read this, I literally went out and bought a tennis racket and started just playing for fun. Because this made me love tennis, it made me love the whole sport. And I just cannot recommend this book enough, especially if you love like athletes or just sports in general. I recommend this book. Those are all of the fiction books that I have, and now I'm going to talk about a couple of dystopian series that I really liked. The first dystopian series that I want to talk about is called The Selection. So this is set in a dystopian future where there is a king that rules the nation, and whenever there is a prince who needs to find a wife to be the princess and the future queen, they have a selection process where females can enter in this drawing essentially to be basically a contestant on this kind of show where they are all competing to basically win the heart of the prince, who in this book it follows Prince Maxon. So America Singer is who the story is about, and she is from a very low caste within this world. She does not come from much, but she enters in this because it has a chance of getting money to send back to her family. So it just follows her as she lives with the other girls and is trying to compete for Maxon's attention, not because she wants to fall in love with him, but because the longer she stays in this contest, the more money she'll get to send back to her family. So this is very much like if you've watched the TV shows The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. It follows a very, very similar kind of story, but I love this book so much. I love the series so much. There are 3 books that follow America Singer, and then there are 2 more books that are also in the selection world but follow a different character. So I really recommend these. It is very, very easy to get into the series, and the books are not super long. They're about 300 pages each, so you can pretty much fly through them. The next dystopian series that I just wanted to mention was the Hunger Games trilogy. Obviously, I'm guessing that all of you know what the Hunger Games is about, but basically there are 12 districts in this dystopian future, and every year there is a Hunger Games where one man and one woman, I guess more like boy and girl because they're all children, are chosen from each district to fight in the Hunger Games, and there is only one winner, so they all fight to the death. And so that's what the books are about. I'm sure you know the rest, and there are 3 books in the original Hunger Games trilogy that came out a long time ago, and then there is also a prequel called The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which I did a whole video talking about this because I just read it because there's a new movie that came out only about a month ago. And so yeah, this is a prequel that follows the president in the Hunger Games when he is not an old president, when he is just a young man living in the capital. So really recommend checking out the Hunger Games, not only the books but also the movies because they are amazing. Okay, those are the dystopian books that I want to talk about, and now I want to talk about some mystery or thriller books. So first up, I want to talk about The Haunting by Natasha Preston, but more specifically, I just want to talk about Natasha Preston's book in general. The Haunting I've already mentioned in a video, but it follows kind of basically a copycat serial killer in a small town. But what I really want to mention is just Natasha Preston as an author. I love her books so much. They are all young adult mystery thrillers, and they are very, very fast-paced and so easy to get into. I mean, I'm just looking at the back of this cover and it says, other books by her, The Twin, The Lake, The Fear, The Island. I have read, I think, almost all of her books, and I have never not liked it. I mean, they're not obviously the best books, just because they are shorter, but that's honestly what I like about it, because I use these whenever I'm just not in the mood to read a super dense book. I'll just pick up one of her books because they're so easy to get into, and they have very disturbing mysteries in them all the time. And so I really recommend checking out her books. Next up, we have All the Best Liars. I have really never seen this book talked about, but I loved it so, so much. I remember a little while ago I just saw this in Barnes & Noble, and I bought it because I liked the cover and it looked very interesting. So it follows 3 friends, Sid, Rain, and Bree, and 2 weeks before the end of high school for them, there is a fire set. And literally in the inside cover it says, they all escape, but not in the way any of them expects. One will do it by dying, another by lying, and a third by taking the fall. So it is such a good book. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time reading this, and I want everyone to read this book. And I feel like I've just never seen it talked about on like TikTok or YouTube or any social media. I've never really seen anyone talking about this, but I loved it so much. The next book I want to talk about is actually a trilogy called One of Us is Lying. So this is also a TV show that came out on, I think it was Peacock, a while ago. I think there's 2 seasons now. So it follows 5 students who walk into detention, and one of them doesn't make it out. And the one who doesn't make it out, his name is Simon, and he notoriously has this app that spreads secrets about everyone in this high school. And it just spreads a lot of information that should not be getting spread around because it's very, very private information. And so everyone is very suspicious when he turns up dead because he's had this app that has created a lot of enemies because no one really likes him. And it really just follows the 4 students who were in the room with him. I loved it so much. It is very like, if you've seen like Pretty Little Liars type of thing with like A and stuff like that, kind of that vibes, but it was so good. And like I said, it's a trilogy. The 3rd book actually came out really, really recently, and I loved all 3 books. I thought it was amazing, so I recommend checking this out. And checking out the show, too. I haven't seen season 2, but I liked season 1 a lot. My last mystery book that I want to talk about, and the last fast-paced book I'm going to talk about, is called A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. And I'm sure most of you have heard of this book. It is amazing. It is a trilogy, and I love this. I honestly should reread these books because they are incredible. So it follows Pip, who is doing research for her senior capstone project, and she chooses to research a murder that occurred in her town 5 years prior. A very, very popular high school girl was killed by her kind of loner boyfriend, who then killed himself. And Pip just is researching this story because she knew the boyfriend who killed his girlfriend really well, and she just never really, it didn't sit right with her that he would kill her. And so she dives deep into this and is kind of uncovering some secrets and is trying to really solve the mystery because she does not believe that he did it. And it is such a good book. All 3 books are amazing, and I will say that they do kind of get more disturbing by each book. So like the 3rd one is pretty creepy, but if you like any type of mystery, then I really, really recommend this because it is amazing. Okay, so those are all the books that I wanted to talk about, and these are all books that are very, very fast-paced that can help you get into reading or maybe get out of a reading slump. So I really recommend that you check some of these out. Just pick your favorite genre, whether it's romance, fiction, a dystopian, or a mystery, and just pick one of these books and give it a try, because honestly, how you get into reading or how you get out of a reading slump is just by picking up a book, and you just gotta do it, and you gotta go for it, and it really helps to have a book that is very, very fast-paced and very interesting. So definitely give some of these a try, and let me know if you want to see any other videos like this, because I could probably make a part 2 to this video. I have a lot of books that I love and that have really helped me kind of get back into reading or just have really motivated me to read. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this, and I will see you guys in the next one.